Hello everyone, it's Jill, the Wandering Stamper. We have finally made it to Colorado for the summer. Our kids all happen to move here from Florida, so we spend a lot of time when we can visiting them and hanging out with our grandkids. So we are in Colorado Springs right now, and we'll be moving around Colorado quite a bit. But today I wanted to take a few minutes to show you the Grassy Grove stamp set. So cute. I love the deer and the wildlife, and since I spend so much time with deer and the wildlife while we're camping, it's a lot of fun to play with. We're going to be making a unique little twisted fold card. It's a little different than probably a lot of cards you've seen, so I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to pause for a second and reposition the camera, and we'll get started. I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so we're going to be working, as I mentioned, with the Grassy Grove cling set. I love this set. It's got a lot of wildlife look and nature scenes you can make from it, and I love the sayings. So we have all our stamps right off screen. One little tip for you, I like to keep a big stamp just off camera to kind of corral my stamps as I'm taking them off my blocks. I'll just stick them on here so I know all my stamps are in one place, so when I go to put everything away, they're all kind of stuck to this big block. So I have these trees right here right now because I'm going to be taking it off and using it on this block. So just a little tip, if you have one of these large blocks, it's a great place to put your stamps so you don't have stamps all over your work area. So let's go ahead and get started with our card. This is going to be a twist card. I'm going to show you my sample. So basically when you open it, it twists. So when somebody gets it and they open it, it kind of changes directions. Really simple fold. So I'm going to show you how to make it in just a few minutes. We are going to be using, I have some scrap paper left over from another stack of paper, which I kind of like the leaves. It looked like it went around the nature theme really well. And then it matches the garden green paper. So we're going to use garden green paper, and then we're going to also use Whisper White. Let me get my paper cutter. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut your base, which is going to be our garden green. It's going to be 4 1/4 by 11. I actually have a half a sheet of paper from the other card left over. So as you can see, it's 4 1/4 by 11. So once you have that, you're going to do some scoring. You're going to score it at 5 1/2 inches all the way through. And then you're going to move it to 4 1/4 inches. And then you're just going to score a little tick mark. I just find that an easy way to mark this little tick mark. I put the score line there, and I just use my pencil. I do have a silver pencil I just purchased. I have to get that out. And then what you're going to do, once you have your tick mark, you're going to put your tick mark on the cutter and line up the corner, the outside corner. And once you have that done, which is one reason we love this cutter, you can see everything with the clear arm. You're going to line those up, and then you're going to score those all the way across. So you have one diagonal score right here. And then you can just get your eraser and wipe that little hash mark off. You won't be able to even see it. Okay, so that's our base. So then I'm going to fold that in half, and then I'm going to fold in half again. So as you can see, we've created this piece. And then we'll get our bone folder and give it a good burnish so it stays shut. All right, and we're going to set this aside. The next thing I'm going to do is get my Whisper White. I think I have some scraps over here. We're going to cut one at 3 3/4 by 5, and that's going to be for the inside of the card. 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Okay, that's going to be the inside. Now we're going to work on the outside. So for the front, I'm going to layer a couple of pieces of paper. As you can see on this sample, I did white, green, white, and then put it on the green. So to do that, you're going to have a 4 by 4 piece of white, of basic white. right. And then you're gonna have a green piece at 3 3/4. See if this works. Nope. 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. These are all squares. So we've got 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So that's gonna layer right here. And then we have one more piece of paper that is gonna be white. That's gonna be the front of our card. And it looks like I'm gonna be cutting white. I always have to check my samples. I hate wasting paper. Okay, so that looks like 3 1/2. So 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. So we have 4 by 4, 3 3/4, and 3 1/2. So these will all layer like this. I just liked the layers. I just like the contrast of the layers like this. So that's going to set aside. That's the front of the card. And then the last thing we need to do is cut our designer series paper for the front. I love this. It just looks like nature to me. So you're going to have 2 pieces of 1 by 4 designer series paper. So I usually cut them at 2 inches so that I'm not cutting too much having too many scraps left over. I like to kind of keep my cuts to a minimum so I can keep using, like that's a perfect piece of paper to use for something else. And then I go and take that 2 inches and bring it down to 1 inch. I know that sounds confusing. Ultimately, however you like to do it, you want 2 1 by 4 pieces of paper. All right, that's all of our cutting. And now we're gonna do some stamping. So the first thing I'm gonna do is my inside. I'm going to get this stamp straight because it's on there crooked. It's what these grid papers are so handy for. Gets me a little straighter. All right, I'm gonna use garden green because we wanna keep matching our paper. And I'm going to do these little prairie flowers. I'm gonna ink this up really well. And I'm just gonna put this on the bottom center. Give it a good squeeze. It's just pretty. I like it. I love nature, which is a good thing since I'm always out in it. All right. And then I'm gonna leave that open and grab my brown. And the inside is gonna say that someone is me, which goes along with the saying that we're gonna put on the outside. So there we go. So that's done. I'm gonna set that aside. Stamp that off a little because a dirty stamp means trouble around here. All right, now I'm gonna keep my green out and I'm gonna grab, actually I'm gonna put the green away. Don't need it yet. So what we're doing on this one is we're gonna create a sunrise or sunset. Depends on which direction you're looking, right? So I've decided to grab these 3 colors. The boho blue and the moody mauve are the new in color colors. They're so pretty, and the paper, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. And then we're gonna use Daffodil Delight. So I'm gonna start at the top of the sky with my boho blue, and I'm gonna grab my blending brush that I use for blues, and I'm going to get this stamp out of the way. I'm gonna ink this up a little, and I like to put a little bit of ink on the paper just to get an idea of how dark it's going to be. And I'm just going to start sweeping this across the front and just kind of, you know, make it look the way I want it. Looks pretty good. As dark as you want. Start out light and then go darker. You can't go lighter once you've gone dark. So just a little tip there. Now I'm going to grab the Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow. Grab my yellow brush, and I'm just going to rub that on there. And I'm going to go a little bit up into the blue just to blend it all together. Okay. Get the excess off. And then I'm going to grab my pink brush. This has never been used, this mauve. It's very juicy. So I'm just going to do it a little bit. See how dark it is? It's brand new, so I have to be careful with this one. And my fingers are kind of dirty, so I try not to leave smudges. And I'm gonna be really light with this just because I happen to know it's a brand new stamp pad and it hasn't been used, and I don't want it to be too dark, because again, you can always add more color. Can't really take it away once it's on there. So I'm gonna go up into the yellow a little and just kind of create a little bit of color tone and go over the other stuff too, because sunsets kind of wash into each other. Okay, so that's pretty. All right, so that's done. I'm gonna take the excess ink off and set that aside and close up my ink pad. Now I'm gonna grab that garden green again, and I'm gonna get my prairie and I'm gonna ink that up. And I'm gonna stamp that down here. I'm gonna go a little bit off the paper. So maybe about right there, okay? And then I'm gonna do it again and kind of overlap a little bit there, okay? So we've created that. Stamp off a little so I can clean it. All right, and now I'm gonna take this off and put it on my my big ink block I have and add the tree. So we're gonna ink this tree up with the same color, garden green. So you have everything coordinating, and I'm gonna put these, I think, over here. Just figure out where I want it and stamp that down. Okay. Stamp off there a little bit, and that's all for the green. Now I'm gonna get that early espresso, and I'm gonna put my deer on there. So I'm gonna ink him up really well, make sure he's all covered. And we'll put him over here. Okay, super cute. And then we have our saying that's gonna go on the front, which says, sometimes you need to know that someone really cares. Ink that up nicely, and I'm using the early espresso, and it goes well up here where we have the sky. Ink that down, and that is done. Take off my extra ink, set that aside. So our coloring is done, our folding and cutting is done. So now all we have to do is adhere everything together. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this piece and get my stamp and seal. All right, and we're gonna layer this onto here. Make sure I'm doing that right, yes. Okay, and then we're gonna flip it over, and we're gonna adhere this to the largest piece, the 4x4 piece of white. Okay, that's done. And while I'm here, I think we'll go ahead and add a butterfly, because I think these brass butterflies look so pretty with this. So we'll add a brass butterfly. And we'll set that piece aside. Now we're gonna grab the first piece that we decorated, which is the inside that says that someone is me. And we're gonna adhere that to the inside of the card. Now when you put this in here, you can center it completely. I like to make it a little bit higher at the top, and that's just to make sure. It also helps to do it straight. That is just to make sure that when we close the card, this piece is not showing on the front of the card. Sorry, I'm probably off camera. So I like to move it just a little higher up, so that when this piece is on, what did I do? You know what we did? We have our card backwards. weird. So it needed to be folded this way. Okay. Yeah. So when you fold it this way. Glad I caught that. And that's so when you open it, it's facing the right way. So just check that your card is folded so that your flap faces up this way. Let's put a little bit more adhesive. I'm glad I caught that. That would have not been good. Put a little more adhesive on here since I pulled it off. Put that on. Again, I just have it a little bit higher here than I would at the bottom. And that's just to make sure it's not going to peek out later. Okay. So now we want to add our 2 pieces of 1x4 designer series paper. So I'm going to put some Stamp and Seal on the bottom. The first piece is going to be centered here. Like that. It just gives it, so when the card is opened, it just all flows nicely. And then the other piece is going to go right here. And again, you're just going to center it on there. Like that. So then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yes. So we're going to glue this on. Now, if you notice, the corner here and the corner here match up. So we only want glue on the back that's here. So I'm going to flip it over. So just kind of look where you know you want your glue on this top left side. So I'll flip it over, grab my liquid glue, and just go into a triangle like this. You would have laughed at me about an hour ago when I first opened this glue bottle to get started. We have gone from 1,300 feet in elevation to 6,300, and I had a major glue explosion when I did that. I always forget about the elevation change when we travel, and it gets me every time when it comes to glue. So once you have the adhesive on there, you're going to go ahead and just stamp it, press it down. Make sure you look nice and straight on there. There's a little bit of an edge. And then I kind of look really quick to make sure there's no glue. There isn't. And then I also make sure that this piece isn't showing. So as you can see, it all fits on there nicely. And then when you open it, it opens so you can read it. Got a little glue ball right there. So that's our card. It's not hard to make. Just make sure you fold it correctly. Don't get it wrong like I did. So here's our sample. Again, we use Garden Green, some designer series paper. I use the blending brushes to create this little sunset or sunrise. Added my wildlife, my greeting, and my flowers. Very simple card. It's so cute. It could actually probably display like this if you wanted to. It's just unique and pretty. Here are the other samples I made to show you. This sample I made with the Good Feeling stamp set. It says Sending Sunshine and Good Feelings Your Way. And I added some champagne rhinestones that I happen to have. They just looked pretty with those flowers. And when you open it up, I used the sweet citrus and die cut those out and added Sending You a Big Squeeze. And then I colored these in with Wink of Stella because I love how it makes the limes look juicy. And then I used some background paper I had from some free product from Celebration that I had left over. So use your scraps, use your designer series paper to your advantage. There's so many uses for it. And then the third card I made is from the Petal Park Regency Park bundle that I love, and I use some designer series paper, the reverse side with patterns, and then the floral side, and then I die cut these flowers out with the coordinating dies. And then when you open it up, it says, "Let's celebrate." And then again, I stamped some coordinating flowers similar to the ones you see in the paper, so everything's pulled together. So here's our 3 cards. I will have the, as soon as I get my blog up, you will have all the cutting dimensions in that blog. It's very close. I've just been traveling so much that it's been really hard to concentrate on getting that all done and live, especially when I have 2 sweet grandchildren to play with. So hopefully I can get focused and get that done for you soon. But otherwise, I will have a link to my online store for all the products. And as you know, I try to put a video out on Wednesdays. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you can see future fun folds and card creations. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Get out in nature and send somebody a card that makes them feel special. I'm Jill, the Wandering Stamper. Thank you.